Welcome back. It is the DMV Weave Doctor located right here in Bowie, Maryland. And today we are going to be answering some questions about cranial prosthesis. I know it's a very complicated situation. You know, a lot of people, they do not understand what a cranial prosthesis is, who needs a cranial prosthesis. Um, because a cranial prosthesis is not for everyone. Some people may desire just some of the different wigs that you get at the beauty supply store, but with a cranial prosthesis, it is. And the Weave Doctor today, we're going to make it a very educational and fun show. We're going to give you the more scientific definition of a cranial prosthesis. Okay, and this is in the Weave Doctor's notes, some different notes that I've jotted down. So, anyways, a cranial prosthesis is a custom-made wig specifically designed for medical conditions such as traction alopecia, alopecia areata, alopecia totalis, trichotellomania, CCCA, and chemotherapy, or any other clinical disease or treatment resulting in hair loss. So, pretty much these wigs, they are made specifically for hair loss. And there are so many different forms of alopecia. I also am a hair practitioner, healthy hair practitioner, as well as a trichologist. And some of these scalp conditions, once and I was talking with the dermatologist in the area, and, pretty much once these conditions begin, if you do not catch these conditions in the beginning stages, it can be a challenge to bring back the hair. We have so many different people who come to our office and possibly to the dermatologist looking to regrow their hair. But these, a lot of people are actually looking for a quick fix. That's why now they have transplants. Just so many different things out there, because people want a quick fix. And now that's what I would say. Sometimes when you're trying to regrow back alopecia, it can definitely become a challenge, and it's something that must be done over a long period of time. And it's pretty. Some of the different results can vary. You might not always be able to regrow the hair and get the hair back that you once had as a young lad. Okay, but we're going to go back and just go back onto the topic because the Weave Doctor just loves to enjoy herself sometimes when she's trying to explain stuff. But anyways. So as you can see, certain conditions like traction alopecia, especially after scarring alopecia, there's different forms of alopecia where it's very difficult to regrow the hair, especially after the scalp becomes shiny and bald. And with some of these other conditions like alopecia areata, you would pretty much, have to really get to the source of what is causing your hair loss, whether it be from what you're breathing in, some type of allergy, stress type of related type of mechanism that's causing you to then lose your hair. So it's just a lot of different things with some of these when you're trying to regrow your hair. And some people, they get impatient and, they just want to look beautiful right now. Okay. And that is what the Weave Doctor does. The Weave Doctor wants you to look beautiful right now. We don't want you to have to wait months and months or possibly years trying to attain the length. I even am I'm a YouTuber, and I watch some certain different people, how the different alopecians. No, that's a new terminology nowadays. But a lot of alopecians are out there talking about it's taken them years just to get, guess what, somewhat marginal results, and we're not always sure on what they're using during that time. Another thing, when people are trying to regrow their hair back who have alopecia, and if they do get any success, I find that they are very, very diligent in certain cases, and even that it depends on what form of alopecia that you have. But many of these individuals, they are using their formulas, on a day-to-day basis. They're doing it sometimes once a day, twice a day. They are shampooing their hair properly. A lot of times, some different ethnic groups and a lot of other people, once they start to lose hair, they begin to actually stop caring for their hair which is a bad, it's a bad thing. I guess I understand. As you start to lose hair, you kind of may begin to lose hope in keeping up your scalp care maintenance. So if you have these type of practices and poor scalp hair practices, then you could possibly be leading down the road of not really being able to reverse your alopecia, or at least try to keep your alopecia from progressing. So that's pretty much with the cranial prosthesis. And, so many different people, they have so many different wigs that you can purchase online from different, out of the overseas and out of the country, different type of suppliers that offers different types of units. But these are not cranial prosthesis. Cranial prosthesis, these units, they are made in a lot of cases specifically for the individual. And when I'm and when the wig doctor says specifically, that's exactly what we mean. Specifically meaning, even as far as the measurements to the head. Your head, there are over, I believe, 17 to 21, maybe even more different measurements when you're creating wigs, depending on how exact you want the measurements to be, that different wig suppliers use just to get exact measurements when you're trying to get the perfect fit. Now, and that's one of the things I would say, that if you're trying to do a cranial prosthesis, even though a lot of times it can be a lot more money, it is best to get a unit that fits your scalp and your head very firmly, so that you do not have to be subjugated to using all these tapes and glues. So that's one of the things we try to push at the Weave Doctors Apothecary, using a glueless method, especially for our different dermatologists who are now using some of our and endorsing some of our products to their clientele, using the glueless method. With these band methods, you can, use some of the products that your dermatologist and or healthy hair practitioner has suggested for you to use, to make sure that you keep your scalp in the appropriate and most healthy condition. Because the scalp is just like skin. It has to be nourished, has to be moisturized, it has to be cleaned properly. And we want to make sure that we're applying the different growth agents, if there are any that are advised by your different hair loss specialists, or just making sure that, that you maintain any different type of scalp conditions. A lot of people that deal with psoriasis, seborrheic dermatitis, a lot of times when they're wearing some of these sewn down wigs and also some of these weave installs, they are not shampooing their hair. They cannot properly maintain a healthy scalp. And these conditions, if they are left untreated, can lead to hair loss. So that is another reason why we love to push, cranial prosthesis, and people and individuals who suffer from alopecia to really look into getting a cranial prosthesis done. One of the perks of having a cranial prosthesis is that a lot of times, many medical providers will provide, money towards and reimburse you for your high cost unit, because a lot of these units can be somewhat expensive. And what really makes the unit vary in price, there are a lot of different variables with price. One of the things is that depending on the actual texture of the wig and on where the hair was sourced, there are so many different types of hair that is used. With the more, say like the hair that you buy from, probably, that they have like you see some of the different over the seas, different type of wig suppliers where they're selling the $100 to $200 wigs. Many of this hair is fallen hair. It's, hair that they pretty much pick up off the floor from different beauty salons. Also, some of these hairs, they are actually attained, when people die. Okay. And also in different hospitals, a lot of people are using this hair to go on custom wigs. And I know that can be a little bit disturbing, but it just shows you that you a lot of times can get what you pay for. So even though it may look like you're saving temporarily, you're not getting the best quality of hair. And so those different types of hairs may, they're more affordable. However, you will not be able to get a custom fit with these units that are not made for alopecia or alopecia sufferers. Another thing, if you have alopecia and when you're trying to wear a cranial prosthesis or a medical wig, one of the biggest problems is that a lot of people are having some big major issues of the hair pieces falling off of their heads. Okay, that is correct. A lot of times these pieces are falling. They have so many, and it's sad to say people are going, they now with the iPhone era and the and the other different type of recording devices that we now have right on our hand and right in our hands and right on our hips. They have recorded so many different women who had probably on a non-cranial prosthesis unit on while it was while it was probably windy or raining or some type of a very strong wind that came through, and next thing you know, the individual's hair was on the ground, okay, or falling off their head. Now that's one of the things we do not want to happen. And that's why it's best to get a cranial prosthesis or a custom unit made more specific for your hair loss needs, because that's exactly what a cranial prosthesis for. It's really catered to the individual and their specific hair loss needs, which can vary from person to person. Some people, they may need to, have, I call it a beginner's unit, where they're only may want to use a 4x4 to 5x5 or a slightly larger closure piece. It's just pretty much made out. In most cases, the base can vary from different types of bases for the lace, but just I guess for a more basic understanding, when you get a smaller amount of lace, generally that is a unit that is going to be easier to take care of, and you will not have to apply a lot of different type of mousse or different types of gels to the hairline, and definitely especially not glue. So we're really trying to avoid getting glues. So that unit, I would, for the beginners, they might want to start off with a small closure unit, as opposed for someone who wants to get the complete, well, I call it with the edges. That's a term that a lot of hairstylists use, and a lot of people on social media, they want to show their edges off of where it looks very extremely natural when they're able to place the hair in a high ponytail. Pretty much the hair is blended in almost, you can't even, it's indiscernible to the untrained eye. So you're unable to really even detect, the different variations, where the lace begins and where the lace ends. So those units generally sometimes are more expensive, and they may require, depending on how well you get your wig constructed, more maintenance. But thankfully, we do have some different type of hair loss systems that go underneath the wigs for those who purchase their units through us, so that their unit will not be slipping and sliding while they're walking throughout the street. Another thing with so those are pretty much the perks for that. And you can, there are a lot of different foundations. We also walk people who have suffered from alopecia through, and we try to walk them through the process of giving them options of getting their units paid for, and also how to, go to some of these different foundations out here that are local and that are within the United States that actually give coverage options for women who suffer from alopecia and those who are economically disadvantaged. All right, and so I believe I'm just looking at some of my notes. So those are the difference. We talked about the difference between the fashion wigs that they have out there on the market, and with the fashion wigs, I would say, and I have been in the hair industry since I would say now. It's probably been about 20 years, 21 years. Maybe this year might be 22. But with the different type of fashion type of wigs and hair, some of these hairs are attained from, we already talked about, from different hospitals, from synthetic fibers. A lot of these hairs, once you wash and shampoo them, they begin to frizz up. They are not able to curl and style properly. They're very, after about, in some cases, even after a month, the hair can become very wiry and very hard to deal with, especially after the polymers that they put on some of these different hair pieces to make them last longer start to erode. So these are just some of the cons of purchasing a regular fashion wig. And with the fashion wigs, the hair quality, we already stated that it's not as good, so it's going to be less superior. It's going to be it's not going to be able to hold curl the same way. So some of these custom wigs and cranial prosthesis, these wigs are able to hold a very good curl, especially with some of our raw hair textures. And also the sheen overall sheen just looks so much better. I've had some different hair pieces that have lasted years when you purchase a raw constructed unit, as opposed to you just purchase some of the run-of-the-mill fashion wigs that you can purchase online and at some of these different local beauty supply stores. So those are just some of the issues that you run with that. Another thing, when you're creating a cranial prosthesis, it's pretty much like I would say, like getting a custom design inside of interior design for your car, or getting a custom car. You get all these additional perks and things that add comfort, to your day-to-day wear. And it's the same thing for a custom cranial prosthesis. You will be able, depending on when you do your consultation, and if you work with your hair loss specialist, or if you work with me, then we will be able to decide what type of lace would be the best for you. There are so many different types of lace out there. It can be actually very overwhelming. That is why, if it is your first time wearing a wig because of medical purposes, and if you want a more high quality unit, then it's best to work with a hair loss specialist who has some type of experience in this field, because it can become very overwhelming. Also, now we talked about the different forms of lace. Also, the construction. There are a lot of different ways that these units can be constructed. I'm going to look back at my notes to talk about some of the different types of the different type of bases. I don't know if it's on this. It may not be on this exact different type of note card that I have, but there are a lot of different forms of different type of lace. As far as monofilament lace, that is a very popular. Generally, a lot of European women like to wear that. Some of the Jewish sheetles are used for that. Now, that is something. Some of the Jewish sheetles, they actually, in a lot of cases, they have been prayed over by the rabbi. And they wear these head coverings for religious purposes. So they have the lace closure. They have the silk lace. And generally with the silk lace, I would say that generally is pretty much worn with other groups, ethnic groups, not as popular in the African American community. I remember at one point it was a very popular. Now, that one can be good for those who want to pretty much have no knots visible. One of the downfalls of wearing a lace, especially if the knots are not small enough that you can see the actual knots. And so some people, they really, really dislike that, especially people who are not used to wearing fashion wigs. So that if you're looking for the no knot look, now you can get it customized. We have most of our wearers wear the traditional lace wig. But if you're looking for a knotless effect where you are not seeing no grids, and that is a very, some people feel like that is a telltale sign. Now, I feel like generally to the untrained eye, you cannot see that, especially if you go and look into the more thinner lace that are out there, like the transparent for maybe lighter complected women, and also even the more thinner or HD professional lace that they might use for the celebrities or people who are being televised. Then those can bend it very effortlessly, especially if the knots are small. So those are just some of the different things to look into. So you might, if you want to have no knots at all, you probably want to look to getting upgraded to a more finer lace, or possibly, looking into some of the different, the monofilament or the silk top type of lace. Woo, I am now getting parched. And for all those who do not know, I do drink a lot of water. But with all that being said, there are a lot of different scalp bases. There are also a lot of different, for those, the lace is such popular and generally a little bit more affordable in different cases than the ones we were just talking about with the silk top and the monofilament. And with those laces, those different type of parting sections can come in various different parting sizes. Some of the most popular is the 13x4 parting section for the lace front. That's a lot of people purchase that online. They are able to receive the ear-to-ear coverage with that. And some individuals, they really love that. For those who want to get a complete natural hairline that could go up in a high, like a low ponytail, and possibly even a mid ponytail, depending on how the back is constructed. So there are just a lot of different options out there when you're trying to order your custom wigs. Now, as far as the textures also it can affect the overall cost of your unit. We talked about how there are a lot of different companies who are selling fall hair, hair that is found in some of the factories, some of the different hospitals, and on the floor of some of the different salons. So, those hairs may not definitely cost as much as what they call the top tier hair that we sell for the cranial prosthesis, what may become our donor hair. But that hair is pretty much from one specific donor. So that's kind of like, I'm trying to add a little bit of humor, but the Beyonce weave. Did you know, I believe that Beyonce pays a donor, I believe is it $100,000 a year just to grow her hair so that Beyonce can then get it ventilated specifically for her needs and get it bleached and everything. And that lady's, her main job is to grow her hair. Okay, for Beyonce. But it just shows you how technical it can get, and see how much money that she's spending for that hair. I'm not saying that our unit is going to cost that much, but it could get that, down. It can get that specific where you're actually getting and attaining hair for one donor or multiple donors, per each bundle that you have, and then get that hair ventilated specifically for you. And one of the things with the custom unit that is really good, especially if you get some of the more high-end pieces. Now, they may take longer, but again, that hair is hand selected generally for the client's specific needs, and as they're able to get more wear and tear out of those units. And with that, with the more high tier pricing services that we offer, you can get pretty much exact mold measurements. Now, we do have another tier that's a little bit lower than that, where we're just using measuring tape and doing it that way. But if you want to get exact complete measurements where we actually take your scalp molding, then that is a different that's our more elite services. And those are, if you're trying to do a cranial prosthesis, sometimes that might be the way to go, especially if cost not necessarily as important to you, but you're looking more so for the long haul and having an investment. And with that, you will be able to, use different types of, I've seen some people use bobby pins, even though you have to be watchful with bobby pins, make sure that it's not ripping out your hair. Or you can use our hair system, different type of hair grips and things like that can go underneath your units. All right, I'm going to look back over the notes again. Now, so those are just, it depends. And these textures, they can vary. It depends on what type of hair you want. Generally, if you are a European or if you have straight or wavy hair, there are different textures that we suggest. we probably would not suggest, like this probably texture, I probably would not suggest to a European lady unless she maybe she wanted to have more Italian or a more Latino type of look. So it's different type of hair grades that you would suggest for different nationalities and just of different preferences. For example, there are some women who really, African American women who really desire to have an Afro kinky straight type of look. So it looks almost like a pressed look or a relaxer look. Generally, in most cases, we would not give that to a European alopecia sufferer. And so also now a lot of the hair that is least processed costs more. So that is something to keep in mind. They have different type of hair grades. The hair from our elite services, and those hairs are pretty much like within the top 2 to 3% on the market. As compared to some of what you see online, where it's pretty much the $100, $200 wigs or less, even $300 wigs. But those hairs, pretty much, that's pretty much for 50 or 70% of the market is already, advertising and selling. All right. The next thing is density. Okay, when you purchase a cranial prosthesis, especially depending on how much you want your hair to look natural or to cater to your hair needs, there are some individuals, they require and desire to have a very fine, ventilated hairpiece. They do not want it to look very thick and bulky in the roots areas. While some people, they love that voluminous look. They love the appearance of full hair, and they do not want to see any scalp. So it's a lot. It really depends on the individual, and that's one of the perks of getting a cranial prosthesis is that it can be custom designed to your liking, even down to the density and texture. All right. Now, as far as hair color, most of these units, they are coming in a dark black, natural black, all the way up to a number 4, which is pretty much like a dark, very dark brown. If you want to get more color, then you will have to work with your hairstylist or either with us or your wig provider to lift those units. So that's the other thing. Most of these units, they do not come pre-colored. We let the clients and their whoever they're going to, their provider, control those different details. So that is pretty much it for the cranial prosthesis. Trying to think, is there anything else that we can hit on? Now, as far as the maintenance is very critical when you purchase these units. There are some people, depending on if they're used to dealing with a high-end unit, there are certain different precautions that need to be done. Number one, you should not be not shampooing the hair no less than probably between every 1 to 3 weeks max. And you definitely should not be using any type of heavy type of oils on the hair, or either you should not also be using any type of alcohol-based. It's advised not to really use alcohol-based products, and to stay away from using any non-sulfate shampoos. Okay, because some of these different type of products, they're very drying and damaging to the unit, and they actually can cause more tangling, especially for those who have who have a lace base. Also, while you're shampooing, it is suggested that you do not do vigorous scalp manipulation at the base of these units, because then you can this type of form of poor uses of manipulation on your unit can cause you to have matting. And that's one of the issues that a lot of people encounter. That's why we have hair maintenance, wig maintenance available at the drop-off service. Individuals can drop off their custom wigs to us so that we can maintain them properly. So that's a big issue. Once you purchase these units, you want to make sure that you get the the longevity out of them so that they can last a long time. You want to get the money out of your investment. Also, another thing, when we talked about some of the hair coloring, we want to make sure that you do not over process these units. That's why it is best and well advised to go to a stylist or a wig designer that focuses, on making sure that you're able to keep your units and your investment for a long term. It's not really well advised to keep using hot curling irons on a day to day basis. So even though this is human hair, you still have to almost treat it like you would, your own natural hair. Even though I know some people they don't mind curling their own hair with heat on a day to day basis, but really it is not the best method for trying to curl the hair. We suggest some of our clients possibly to use some of our hot rollers or to use soft curling rollers at night to take off their wigs and to apply them on a wig stand so that the curls can set overnight. Also, as far as textures, highly textured hair like what I'm wearing, for those who do not want a straight look, these different type of looks can be very high maintenance. It is not. It is not something that we recommend for people who are trying to get a low, who want to who are looking to get like a low maintenance hairstyle. This is the complete opposite. And generally, the more kinkier and tighter the curl, the more shedding that you can encounter, and the more different type of maintenance issues that you can have. Generally, hair that is like this, I did not actually wet my unit, but you can expect to pretty much detangle this hair about every 2 to 3 days at the least. So you should be detangling this hair regularly so that this hair is able, you're able to last long. Because a lot of problems that we see is when people once they get their units, they are not detangling and shampooing properly. And so when you do that, you're going to end up with a fur ball. Okay, you're going to end up with a fur ball, and that's one of the things that you want to stray away from. So if you're new to wearing wigs, it's best to, and if you pay a lot of money through this, for your unit, or you get your wig covered through your medical insurance provider, then you want to make sure that you make this hair last forever, just like that song, make it last forever. So that is just some of the different things with the different units, and we generally give information and different hair care tips for those who purchase the unit to find out more about how to take care of their custom wigs. Another thing as far as coverage can be very tricky. We find that a lot of individuals, depending on who's their provider, the coverage can pretty much vary from person to person, and it's not. It would be nice if they could say everybody from Blue Cross Blue Shield is going to automatically receive this amount. It really depends on each person, what deductibles need to be fulfilled with their, in their plan. Also, if they, depending on if they have spending points, which can be, a lot of people don't realize it can be used for your units, but there's a lot of different variables, and that's why we offer a consultation, and we do some of the dirty work for you if you're interested in finding out more on how to get your custom cranial prosthesis paid for through your medical provider. For all those who don't want to do that, they can also just pay out of pocket. Some people prefer that and maybe like to go the reimbursement route at a later date, because if you're doing it on your own, it can be very tricky, and sometimes it takes a while before you to become fully reimbursed through the medical insurance provider. Well, we hope that was a very informative discussion today. We explained about the differences between a fashion wig and cranial prosthesis. That's one of the biggest things with some of these cranial prosthesis. They can cover the amounts of different parts of your scalp where you have lost the hair, so that no one will ever know that you are wearing a custom medical unit. A lot of people, they can part the hair from ear to ear. They can put it up in a high ponytail. all depending on what you and your hair loss specialist decide upon. Also, for those who are watching this, who possibly are, who know someone who is suffering, uh, who are dealing with hair loss from chemotherapy, we also have a wig drive, a wig bank available at our office with donated wigs there. So if you are interested in finding out more about how to receive some of these units, make sure to DM us or to inbox us or email us at chelsea.ymitchell@gmail.com. All right, we thank you so much for your time. We hope that you guys have a wonderful afternoon. All right, bye now.